Folks, welcome to an all-new week. My voice is still a little thrashed from the sinus infection and whatever else is happening with me. And I think by some magical power, I gave my sickness to the person I hosted the Pop Culture Roundup with last week. So I had to have her back this week, but I also had to have her back immediately and not in 2 weeks because Summer House, we ended the season, and I know she has a lot of strong opinions about that and so many other things. So we got to have her back immediately. The one, the only Sophie Ross. Sophie, what happened to you? How did you get sick?
Hi. I'm sorry, my voice. I was just at a wedding this weekend and came home, felt fine, took like a 5-hour nap as one does after like a wedding weekend, and texted Ryan, was like, I'll let you know like when we can record. And I woke up from my nap and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sick. Like I couldn't tell at first. I was like, was I just like screaming last night? Which I was screaming last night. But yeah, there's like something going on with my throat. So apologies for some.
Well, no, Sophie, let me be your mom right now of like, you're burning the candle at both ends, Sophie. You can't keep doing this to yourself. And leading into your wedding in October, you've got to start pulling back on things, Sophie. It's too much. Your health means too much right now. And you're really you're pushing it. You're just pushing it.
I work hard. I play hard. I do fucking everything.
Yeah. By the way, yeah. Wait, Sophie, do you want to announce your new spritzer at this point? I do everything for this. Loverboy is my life. I need to play hard because I work so hard.
That's me, basically, though. Like, that's my life philosophy. Like, I work so hard. So hard.
Okay, so we're both sick. We both feel disgusting. But I guess just let's rip the Band-Aid off because we need to talk. I mean, listen, I've talked so much about Summer House in the last week, but I want to hear your thoughts on the final part of the reunion. And there was a lot of Kyle Cook information, or I don't even know if information is the word.
Oh, God.
A lot of speculation about his personal life with Amanda Batula while they're all away for Andrea Denver's wedding. Congratulations to Andrea Denver for his wedding this past weekend. What were some of your thoughts as we kind of break down the reunion piece by piece?
I had so many thoughts. If you follow me on Twitter, which I feel like a lot of you do.
Yeah, you were going off.
Just saying, I was going off. First of all, like, I don't even know where to begin, but I will say something that I think is so egregious is the fact that conversation, there was a conversation that was included in the Peacock version, but not the Bravo version. And
so there's 10 minutes of extra footage on the second part of the reunion on the Peacock. They've been doing extended episodes of that and Vanderpump Rules, as well as the after shows on Peacock. So that's what you're about to speak about right now,
yes.
right?
Yes. Okay. So on the Peacock version, they mention the fact that they have a conversation about the fact that Carl smokes weed all the time and he was doing mushrooms. What is with like these Bravo guys being obsessed with like tripping on shrooms? You
don't understand. We're trying to trip the life fantastic. We want to see what is peeled beneath the layers of the universe. No, so what happened was he supposedly microdosed with Lindsay at a music festival. Yes. And Lindsay brings this up in the extended version.
And can I just say that I really feel like that adds a lot of context to Lindsay's, not that they're okay, the cocaine Carl comments. I think that there was a lot of context because we were being spoon-fed a narrative on the show that Carl is 100% sober. And trust me, I also was tweeting about this. I'm not an addiction expert, a sobriety expert. I am not judging how people try to work through their sobriety journey. I know that there's something called harm reduction, which means instead of the hard stuff like cocaine and alcohol or your drugs of choice, you are like, okay, well, like weed is fine for me. I will say though, and I know again, I'm not an expert. That is not sober in my opinion. That is not sobriety. And I had a lot of people being like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, I'm just saying that I think, not that there's anything wrong with what Carl is doing to stay away from coke and alcohol. I think that he is actively trying to hide that information from the audience. I think that he wanted us to think that he is 100% sober. This is his brand, baby. And that Lindsay is a monster for implying that he would take any drugs. When the reality is that he is, by and large, California sober, James Kennedy style, which is fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Also, microdosing, he made a point to say, I was actually microdosing shrooms. I wasn't like actually like doing, I was microdosing.
Oh yeah, I wasn't macrodosing, I was micro.
You are taking hallucinogens and then trying to pretend to the audience that you are 100% sober. I'm sorry, like, is that controversial for me to be like, I think that adds a lot of context.
No. I mean, I did a solo Patreon thing where I kind of said a very similar thing. Now listen, two things can be true at once. I thought the Cocaine Carl the comment by Lindsay and bringing up the mushrooms in that environment, man, I thought that was horrible on a whole different level, just on a personal to personal basis, and also shows why they shouldn't be together, why they were not good communicators with each other. It shows everything. So I didn't love that. But since it did happen, though, it does add context of why, if he was doing that, could he potentially be doing other things? I do not like the venue or the way in which she brought it up, but it does add more to that thought of, would you be worried about your partner if he is suggesting things like doing mushrooms? Would it be in the realm of possibility? And especially since they don't seem to have been great communicators with each other, could he be hiding something else? Now, obviously, Lindsay also says, listen, yeah, I was shit canned wasted, which is horrible in its own whole way. Like, it is just such a mess. But I agree with you completely that it adds more context, but it's still in this way of like, damn, Lindsay, it's, I don't know, like, I'm trying to like reconcile the two, because I agree with you completely, but I still thought it was like, God, because here's a dude where like Carl has some real issues, like real problems. Like, there is a real addiction there that really scares me, that I do believe that he's like a couple steps away at all times from really harming himself. So there is like this wanting to support him and all of that stuff. But it is interesting because it is bringing then Lindsay into the whole matter, where everybody on that reunion, I felt, was like, by the two, like 1/3 into it, was just ganging up on Lindsay to a degree where I felt like there was no, like, Lindsay comes in a very rough exterior package, and she says things like Cocaine Carl and stuff where it's hard to like completely give your heart to her, empathize, but we sit there and empathize with everybody else on that stage. Why can't we do the same thing for Lindsay and just realize we're not all the same in how we deal with life? But it was wild. Even Andy, even Amanda, even all of these people have their own issues. They were coming so hard at Lindsay, and I can understand they really dislike her. But then I think you have Kyle Cook on the stage and I like Kyle to a degree, but he escapes any kind of persecution. There is a real conversation to be had that Kyle is very similar to Lindsay in so many ways, but we do not have, we spend all this time with a magnifying glass on Lindsay, and we have no magnifying glass on Kyle at all. I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either.
Kyle's even speaking for Carl. Carl can't even speak for himself during his segments. Like, when they were having the conversations with Lindsay, I was like, Kyle, shut up. I want to hear Carl speak for himself.
Yes, I think there probably is something to say about the fact that Kyle, I believe, is he an executive producer? He is.
I know he's one of the people that brought the whole idea, but I don't think he's an executive producer. No,
I think that he's something though. And
he started it.
I think they do protect him in a way, and it has never been more obvious than on a season where he refers to his wife as a fucking bitch, a fucking lazy bitch on camera, and that doesn't get addressed. Of course not. Why would that get addressed at the reunion where we eviscerate?
No, we address her mental health issues, but don't ever bring up the fact that part of her mental health might be dealing with somebody that is constantly shitting on her.
Yeah, like it's her. Like the fact that Amanda's depressed and struggles with depression, which amazing that she, is being open about that and being open about taking SSRIs. Love SSRIs. highly recommend if this is
Yes.
something that you struggle with also. That like, oh, she's depressed. Like, of course, Kyle was calling her a lazy fucking bitch. Obviously, no joy. Like, what? That was as much as it was addressed. Like, and yeah, like you said, it was just a complete gang up on Lindsay. A complete gang up. Even Andy was ganging up on Lindsay. And can I just say, I have from the beginning, just like how I wasn't on the West bandwagon, I also did not believe that finale girls hug was genuine. Those girls are not on her side. Like,
well, listen, I think they were on her side in that moment. Like when you see somebody suffering that badly, like that moment at the finale, yeah, I like that Paige was like, "Fuck, I'll give a hug. I don't care." But like at the same time, like their past will never, like, you'll never fully escape your past. So of course they're gonna get back to this like hating each other eventually. And you will see, like, it was so great to watch that's how insane I am. I watched this show multiple times, and you watch the reaction shots and the way Paige leans in and listens with empathy for Amanda or for Carl. But when Lindsay tries to explain something, her face is like, oh, give me a fucking break. Give me a break.
And I said this also, that like there is some projection going on when she's like, Wes doesn't give a fuck about you. He cares about how he's perceived by the public.
Yes.
You are correct, Paige, but I think that that's also projection, because that is how Paige operates. Paige cares about how she is perceived by the public, and she made it so close to having such a flawless season until this reunion. Like, she was so close. She was doing everything that she knows the audience wants to see. But then I think the reunion was timed closer to when the public had turned on Lindsay after the Cocaine Carl comments. And so everyone was like, oh my God, the audience is going to hate Lindsay. Obviously, like, let's fucking like gangbang her at this reunion. They could not have been more wrong. And Andy, again, botched what he thought the public opinion would be. Same with Vanderpump, where he was like, everyone's going to be so sick of Ariana. Lala, the voice of reason.
Lala's the voice of reason. Like, I didn't go that hard, or like, I don't think as intensely about the Paige stuff as you do. I just feel like there is 6 years of bad vibes between them. And also, I truly do wonder also, what is the actual truth of that scenario of Carl telling Paige at BravoCon that Lindsay sabotaged a photo shoot? Because Lindsay said in that moment, that's not true. I will say though, like, we also have to call a spade, is that Lindsay is a PR person. She's a good PR person. The fact that, like, the one where I was like totally dinged her, where she was like, I don't even know how to get a hold of the paparazzi. Like, come on, Lindsay. Like, you know how to, I know how to get a hold of the paparazzi. I know, you know, like, there are certain things that you can't go that hard on, Lindsay, because you do know. And by the way, who cares if you called like the paparazzi on Carl?
Right. And also, like, who cares? Like, the part where they were all acting like, oh my God, it was such a scandal that, like, the fact that the girls' dinner like ended up on realityblurb.com. It wasn't even like, it was realityblurb.com. Like, oh my God, we're so like, what a scandal.
Yeah. Like, what was it? Girls rule, boys drool.
I was also so tired of Amanda's under her breath little comments. Like, and I said this on Twitter, say it with your fucking perfect chest, or don't say it at all. Or don't say it at all. And that is someone that, whoa, you feel very, like, confident.
Well, but really. See, Sophie, this is what I'm talking about. Like, think about our real lives, like the people that we like, or our friends, or like friends, the people they date, like when you just don't get along with them or like them. It's hard to keep those feelings at bay. And so I was like, these people genuinely don't like Lindsay for a lot of reasons, probably some that we know, a lot that we don't. So it is interesting because you know that Amanda, especially though, has really trained Kyle to a good degree this season to keep his big yapper shut when it comes to Lindsay. Like, she should have trained him to keep his big yapper shut when it comes to her, but he, exploded on her many times. But like, even though like, because a couple of like reunions ago, remember when Amanda was like, Carl's totally changed once he started dating Lindsay, and then people really came for Amanda after that. So I think she learned to really be careful about what opinions she gives of Lindsay on camera. So that's why it's interesting at the reunion to see those little comments, those little aside comments come out, because they're not picked up. Like Lindsay can't hear her say those, but she is mic'd and the camera can. So it's really interesting in those moments. And it also shows you how Kyle and Amanda's relationship works. So even if Kyle and Amanda there are like not doing well, you see how interconnected they are, and they are sharing a very similar brain. So I do find that interesting as well. And Amanda even saying about Kyle, she uses the word unfortunately. I unfortunately love this man so much. Could you imagine talking about your future husband? Sophie said, I unfortunately love Henri so much. Like, could you imagine saying unfortunately talking about the person that you love?
What a terrible place to be in.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, no, it's sad. And I do want to get to the fact that like she wasn't at Andrea's wedding with Kyle. And like,
so what is your speculation, or what have you heard out there?
But wait, we need to finish talking about the reunion.
Okay, sorry. I'm all over. I'm so excited.
I know. There's so much to talk about. But
Carl, Lindsay.
I'm sorry, Paige. I lost my train of thought.
All right.
Yeah, the under the breath comments. Oh, yeah. So like we'll hear Amanda when Lindsay is sharing like her thoughts or her side of the story. Amanda will go, "Oh, this again." It's like the meanest shit. But when anyone else, again, when Carl's like, "Oh, I haven't kissed anyone since Lindsay. Like, I come with a lot of baggage." And everyone's like, "Oh my God, Carl, stop."
He's just like, "You speak so badly about yourself." I'm like, calm down. He's grown man. He's saying
exactly what he knows he can say to like elicit sympathy from the rest of the cast. It's just like another thing that was really wild to watch was the fact that Lindsay, everyone was like, how could you be blindsided, Lindsay? Like, are you stupid? How could you be blindsided? Like, we all watched your relationship fall apart. Like, you're an idiot. Like, everyone was like, even Andy was like, yeah, how the fuck could you be blindsided, dumbass? And then even Carl was like, Carl's story still is that he called up the cameras without the official intention of breaking up with her. So which one is it? Like I feel like, oh, if Carl didn't even know that he was going to break up with her that day, then yeah, she absolutely could be blindsided. Like, it just was like pissing me off.
Well, like, listen, I think for people like me and you and a lot of you guys out there listening or watching, you know, you probably wouldn't be blindsided because you operate from a very different place than Lindsay operates.
Yes.
I always try to get people to like realize Lindsay was raised in a very different way. Lindsay is also used to drama in her life. Like, I think this was maybe not a normal amount of drama, but something that she is used to of like, but also Lindsay is not a quitter, for better or worse. She will see that thing through to the end, period, even if it's bad for her. So I think a lot of us aren't like that, so we don't realize that. So I do think, even when Carl was like, I've got serious doubts about this, I think she still thought, cool, man. Well, you know, that's what relationships are. It's a lot of suffering. It's a lot of hard work. Like, that's what I think she truly, truly thought. So I do think she was surprised. Now, I will never, unfortunately, and I'm sorry, Carl, I will not believe ever that you did not know where that was headed in that final conversation. Because I do believe if Lindsay said, you know what, Carl, I love you so much. Let's work every ounce of our beans until we can fix this. You would have been like, zoinks, fuck, that backfired. I was hoping that we would end it. Like, you did not want, and by the way, it's okay. Why would you have wanted to keep that going? It looked miserable. But, and also Andy saying, Lindsay, you've got to understand, I talked to production. They said they had no clue. Guys, there are many truths in this. Like, yes, production probably didn't say we're filming a breakup, but there's no damn way in hell those producers didn't like nudge and wink each other going like, yes, it's happening today. Like, we knew it was about to happen. We're finally going to get it. There's no way that they didn't know that that was like probably going to happen when they pick back up cameras. Don't you agree?
Of course, Andy is going to protect production. Like,
but also I don't think it's like this gigantic lie. I just don't think they speak in that. I think they speak in generalities of like, yeah, this I feel like something's about to happen. I don't know what, but like,
right.
I don't think there's paperwork saying we are about to film a breakup. I think if you are these people, you interview these people and talk to the cast every day. You just had this huge fight 3 days before. And, people are like, it was a connector scene before their wedding special. Bullshit. You wouldn't even do that 3 days later after the end of the season. Guys, and it's all right. Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. People want to fight about this. Like, just admit the possibility that reality shows aren't documentaries and they don't just like kind of just shoot and see what happens. They usually shoot for a purpose.
Right. Exactly.
Sorry, I get fired up about that part in particular because I just feel like they're not just like running like camera like 48 hours a day, like getting every piece of footage they can. They're very they try. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Very strategic about it.
That whole reunion made me feel insane. It really made me feel crazy.
Well, it was a real drop off from the first part of the reunion. And what a fantastic season.
And the fact that we also like went so much harder on West I know that he hurt Sierra, but for a situationship more than Kyle calling his wife fucking lazy
Sophie,
bitch on national television.
You love your man, Jesse Solomon. Jesse Solomon has a little line in the second part of the reunion where he's like, Kyle and Amanda, they're each other's persons. You just see them. You don't get it. And I feel like Jesse is like doing a little backwards kiss ass of like, because he's eventually going to sleep with Amanda. So he's like laying that foundation of like, I totally believe in your love. But I feel like, do we really like, I mean,
no,
what did you think about what Jesse said about Kyle and Amanda?
I think that part of it is like ass kissing because he knows that Kyle. He knows that Kyle is the
ringleader?
The ringleader of the show and casting, maybe not in an official capacity, but it's kind of like Kyle's show. So I think part of it is ass kissing. And then part of it is him genuinely being like, okay, now here's a guy who can run around, do whatever the fuck he wants, and his hot wife stays with him. Yeah, Jesse Solomon, like, he wants that life. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. And segueing into the Kai-Amanda divorce rumors, yeah, they absolutely, I am never a proponent of like, yay, divorce. But like, I actually do hope that these rumors are true because I genuinely think that each of them will be so much happier. They're choosing to ruin each other's lives. Maybe it's because of, or ruin their own lives. And I think maybe it's because of the show. It's because of like Summer House, Loverboy. They're so entangled, their lives, that like it's probably really difficult to even imagine splitting up, but like they would be so much happier. And anyone who watches the show, I think, would agree with that.
And I think a lot of people that are on the fence about divorce, and I'm not a big proponent of divorce, even though I am divorced, but I do know how much pain goes into all of that and how much failure you still feel after the fact. I would imagine for the rest of my life. But I will say it was the right thing to do, that you can be happier on the other side, that there are certain like universal truths that you don't realize when you're in a bad situation. When you're out of a bad situation, it suddenly becomes very clear. And I think that's even like if you go to the Valley, Jesse and Michelle Lally, they split up and they're both with new people. Jesse Lally seems like a whole new guy. He seems like he has a whole new lease on life. He doesn't seem like such a flippin' asshole like he did in the first season of the Valley. He was on Watch What Happens Live doing like somersaults. I was like, who's this guy? He looks like immediately happy. And so I think that there is this thing, and I hate to speculate on two people that I really have strong, obviously, opinions about this season and these episodes, but I like Kyle. I've liked him separately. I like Amanda. I don't love how they treat Lindsay, but I want them both happy. I mean, I'm not like a sadist in that sense, but it does seem like it is really headed towards divorce. Yeah.
So like we mentioned,
Amanda, or is that just us? Is that just our fandom being too intense?
Yeah. I mean, all signs are, they did release a statement being like,
the Betches, by the way.
Amanda
They announced it 2 betches. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 betches. Kyle and Amanda are like very much still together. It's killing Kyle that Amanda's not with him in Italy right now. It's like, oh, is it? I'm sure it's killing him. But yeah, so she wasn't at Andrea's wedding with, Kyle, Carl, Lindsay.
Samantha was there, Lindsay, Danielle, Chris from last season was there.
Yeah, she was noticeably absent. And everyone online was like, what? She couldn't get her PTO days approved? Like, there really isn't like a good reason for her to not.
You don't get a fucking vacation, you lazy bitch.
Yeah. Maybe it was that. Like Kyle being like, you don't do shit. Why would I give you some PTO, bitch? Lazy bitch.
Sorry.
But so that, and then at the same time, all of these Demois rumors are flying around.
So I talked to Demois this week, you guys, and I am going to put some audio that she gave me approval to put in from her podcast, because basically she said she's basically tired of getting Kyle Cook blind items, of seeing Kyle make out with somebody at a bar, and one of Demois' business associates, like not even somebody that close to her, reached out on behalf of Kyle to kill something back in the day, like a catch and kill story. But she says she gets these all the time. She gets these rumors all the time. And she kind of just is like, clean up your side of the street, dude. Whatever you're doing, don't be this messy. Whatever is happening. Now, the other Instagram account, Face Reality 16, came out really hard as well. And I mentioned this on Friday's episode with video of Kyle at Leva's place, Republique in Charleston, where we're going to be for Sophie's wedding. And it looks like Kyle is comforting or like touching the arm of this female. And Leva then from Southern Charm and Southern Hospitality said, listen, this is not what that is. This was like the friends. I know that girl. I know Kyle. This is not what it seems at all. So really went hard for Kyle. And I don't know, like, I mean, it's really hard too. And I will acknowledge that the Bravo fan base or fan bases in general go so hard in these situations that it sometimes puts a spotlight more on the insanity of that than the actual truth. But I do think there must be obviously something happening if there is this much. And with Amanda not being over there, I know they have another Italy trip planned. And there is, obviously Amanda likes to hang back at certain things, but it's Andrea. Like that is, and I will say, I told Sophie this last week when we brought this up, they were just at the Watch What Happens Live 15th anniversary party. 2 weeks ago on a Monday, they had the 15th anniversary party. They were both there smiling, happy. Whatever happened in that 4 or 5 day span, something must have happened. And Sophie was the one last week, if you remember, saying they took down all the photos of Kyle and Amanda's, which didn't turn out to be necessarily true. But like, I don't know what, something does seem to be going on.
There's too much smoke to not be fire. Also, like backpedaling back to Demois, because she also on her podcast had said, I like Amanda, so I kind of try to shield Amanda from some of these like rumors about Kyle and sightings of Kyle cheating. And it's like, I don't like to hear that. I don't like to hear that the ones that Demois likes are being protected in terms of like releasing information. Don't love that. So that was kind of like, whoa. But it does sound like these are coming in a lot. These sightings and tips of Kyle cheating are coming in a lot. And I think it kind of makes sense to everyone who watches the show being like, yeah, he never stopped. He never stopped.
Well, so this was
drunk and making out.
Yeah. Well, see, this my thought process, and a dumb thought process. My first thought was no fucking way, because I really thought he did learn his lesson. And also I thought he would have things in place since he does work on an ALK brand called Loverboy, that a system would be in place for him to not go so hard, to make sure that he is very respectful and protective, because at the end of the day, he does have this brand. He wants his brand to succeed. And he also, proclaims to love his wife. So I would think that at this point, that wouldn't happen again. Now, the other thing, though, that's interesting, and if you watch his behavior this season, in his mind, Kyle's a very egotistical person. You would almost sense of, I have a wife that doesn't even fucking get up and hang out, dude. I work my ass off and I need somebody to hang with me. Somebody that like to chill me out. Like you almost sense that you start making excuses for him in his head of like, he might then get, obviously needs to cut loose to let off steam. And why can't he have somebody kiss him? He needs that love. He needs that softness. Like, so I'm thinking like, is it that of like, he's going to eventually say, my wife was in a mental health crisis and I didn't know how to handle it and I wasn't getting the love that I needed. So I would go out and do these things. This is complete fan fiction in my head, you guys, but is that possibly what he's thinking in his head if he continues to do these things? Because I don't believe that he's out there being like, I'm fucking evil, man. Let's cheat it up. Like, I don't want to believe that. So I'm trying to think what his thought process is if any of this is true. What do you think?
You know what's funny also is that, and Lindsay did an interview with Rolling Stone, which I highly recommend reading.
Yeah, on Saturday, yeah.
Where she had mentioned the fact that Kyle is always the apology police for other people's apologies. And same with Amanda. Like, shut up. I kept every 2 seconds of watching reading part 2, I was like, shut up, Amanda. Like, shut up. So you have like the apology police. Kyle will never take accountability for his own shit ever.
Well,
ever.
Sophie, that's going
to be some excuse
Sophie,
like that.
Wouldn't it be a great 41-minute episode of just delving into Kyle Cook, Andy and Kyle? If Andy like, Kyle, what do you think makes you do this? Will you give us your thought process? Are you afraid of your behavior affecting the actual business? Are you afraid of if you and Amanda don't work out, her having half of Loverboy? Like there is a whole conversation to be had just on Kyle Cook that I think I would love to see Kyle answer for. I would love to see him stop speaking for other people, and I would love him to be asked the tough questions. And I don't mean this in a bad, negative way. I want to hear his answers. I want to hear what he has to say.
Which, by the way, Kyle speaking for Carl, Paige speaking for Sierra, Sierra and Paige speaking for Amanda. But when Gabby speaks for Dan or for Lindsay and jumps in to support Lindsay, she's a puppet. Like,
yeah,
just hypocrites, the whole lot of them, hypocrites.
Well, but you can tell where the battle lines are drawn, and that's why it's interesting to think about where we're headed into in season 9, and it starts in July, and especially if Amanda and Kyle are going down the hill, like how, because they're also, we talk about protecting things. Part of this reunion is, Paige is upset at Danielle and potentially Lindsay for leaking that story back in the day of Craig getting thrown out of Amanda and Kyle's wedding. When
the reality is, everyone should be mad at Craig for that. Like,
I know. Imagine getting thrown out of a wedding that probably has heavy drinkers at it anyways. Imagine being so inebriated that you get kicked out of Kyle Cook's wedding. That's gotta be insane.
And everyone knows that happened. Like, everyone knew right after. There were multiple, I think, sources being like, yeah, this happened. Like, it was like a big thing. Like, why the fuck does it matter?
But Sophie, don't you think that's what
I understand why people are like, oh my God, but like if there's an inside source, like they want to know that this person isn't leaking things. It's like, Craig, maybe don't be a fucked up, like angry and inebriated. He almost fought Amanda's brother at her wedding. Like he almost ruined Kymanda's wedding, which honestly wouldn't have been a bad thing. Looking back on it.
Oh my God, Sophie, you're saying. But the funny thing is, though, Sophie, is that you think about it, is that these shows become in how much you can hide from the actual show. Yeah. And I will say, I think that's why Paige is so upset, because Paige is the best at it. And I do mean that as kind of a compliment. Paige is pretty sane. Like, she's pretty knows how to go about it. So when there are leaks from like Paige's side of things with Craig, that must infuriate her, because she is really damn good at keeping a lot of her private life actually off the screen. And it's really, because you see this with Vanderpump Rules too. What they try to hide, or even Tom Sandoval. I always make the point, Tom Sandoval's always saying, we're out there sharing our lives, dude. We're on the front lines. We're sharing all the bad stuff. And I'm like, you idiot. You fucking tried to hide the Rachel stuff. You got caught. That's why you had to share it, idiot. You try to act like you share your big life. You hide much as more than anybody else. So I think it's wild that thing is what Paige really got upset about.
Oh, I know. That's what I was saying, that like no one cares about curating their public persona more than Paige, which is why when she says that about someone else, in this case, West, and she's not wrong, it's projected because that is how she operates. And she is extremely manicured and make sure that everything is, under her control, what gets out, how she's perceived, how she acts, which is, again, why she's not the Lindsay type of reality star, where Lindsay's just like an authentic mess. Paige is more just like she observes. Yeah. And I also would mention these girls have no idea how lucky they are that Lindsay has carried this show for so long, given the fact that, Amanda's storyline every season is, are you finally going to get divorced? Your husband hates you. Paige, either move to Charleston or don't. We do not give a fuck. Sierra, I love how it took one new reunion segment for all of us to be like, okay, shut up, Sierra. Shut up. Enough with the fuck boys. I don't feel bad for you anymore. Enough with the fuck boys.
Oh, see, I'm Team Sierra on that.
Sierra.
I don't think the onus is on Sierra here. I mean,
I like Sierra. I'm not victim blaming. I'm not that she's necessarily like, a victim. Yeah. I don't know. I like Sierra, but again, it's like your storyline. I know exactly.
I know exactly what you're saying. Is that Lindsay is a necessary character on reality TV? She will take a lot of the shrapnel, not only from the audience, but she'll take shrapnel from the entire cast, and so that's why it's really interesting, and it's also why I think people like us really root for her, because we see kind of that 360 view. Whereas Paige is, in the past where I've thought she's had this above it all attitude, where this season I think it kind of fit perfectly. And I was really appreciative of her laser-like diagnoses of Kyle Cook and West and things like that. But it is interesting. This is why I think Paige will be extremely successful in her life after Bravo, because she is well manicured. She is a certain type of accessibility and also keeping things at an arm's distance. And I think that is necessary. Also, Sophie, I just found that Rolling Stone quote from Lindsay from Rolling Stone about Kyle. It said, let's see. Have you spoken to any of the cast members? Okay. Sorry, I lost the quote right here. Anyways, I'm on the Rolling Stone article right now. And she was talking about Kyle speaking for Carl in these situations. She says, I cannot stand when a man tries to tell a woman how she should feel or not feel. I also think that Kyle isn't Carl's mouthpiece. Carl can speak for himself. This is not Kyle's fight to fight. He has his own stuff that he needs to worry about. Walking away from that, I was just like, bro, what are you doing? Where's your apology to your wife for calling her a fucking bitch? I would love to hear that. Kyle loves to police apologies, but then not give them. So I don't think he's one to talk. Boom.
Exactly. Mic drop.
Well, also in this same article, Sophie, did you notice they asked about the traitors rumor, which was that she was pregnant and that she got released from her contract, and Sierra got her place. And it says, there are some rumors going around that you were originally cast on this season of Traitors that just filmed, but then you had to pull out at the last minute. Do you want to address that? She says, I'm also trying to understand more about that rumor, but unfortunately, no, I can't really talk too much about the Traitors. What the fuck does that mean?
What is happening?
Listen, I know I can't speculate on a woman's body. I'm not supposed to. I've been told. Can you speculate on a woman's body?
I will. And we talked about this last week. We talked about this last week where it's like, oh wait, she is having her little crossbody bag in front of her.
Yeah, like is that like as a?
Oh my god! Wait. Also, Ryan. Also, and shout out to my sister Amanda. Okay, shout out Amanda. So my sister Amanda, I was talking to her on the phone. I think she was actually listening to our episode last week, and I was talking to her on the phone, and we were talking about how Lindsay was on some like rooftop in Italy, and it looked like there were 2 alcoholic beverages in front of her and her plus one. And my sister, and I think her coworker or her friend, they together did research on this menu of the place where Lindsay had the rooftop drinks, and it was clearly like a strawberry beverage, and the only strawberry drink on the menu was a mocktail.
We got tea right here, folks. This is the hard-hitting investigative journalism you get from So Bad It's Good. You're not going to find that in any other show. Okay, but then I'm going to throw you for another loop. So back in April, when I interviewed Lindsay in person, right? I kind of hinted around at this pregnancy thing from Reddit, and she kind of threw it away. I will say somebody reached out to me. I cannot reveal their name, but reached out to me that they were in New York as well that week and had gone out for drinks with Lindsay, and she was having an actual drink. Somebody reached out to me, a high place source.
That's also
could go. This could go either way if she
could go either way. I also did notice that like the sandwich of choice that she was eating was a roast beef, which is not. It's cooked. It's not cured. Like prosciutto or sopressata or some of the Italian meats that you can't have when you're pregnant. There's also a chance of listeria when you have like any deli meats when you're pregnant. But roast beef, I feel like, is like the one. I was like, that's just a random like sandwich meat to have when you're in Italy. So again, like, I don't know. This would
be a very Lindsay thing for Lindsay to do. Lindsay goes up to the Carl at the wedding and is like, hey, I'd like to invest in your non-alc bar because I can't drink right now because I'm preggers, like really like gets at him that way.
Yeah, no. And also I think it's a Lindsay thing to do to like be doing all of these things that are like making the public be like, what's going on? Like I can.
Well, but it worries me though. Like, do we, like, we need Lindsay in Summerhouse. Like, but what if she's pregnant? Then we're going to have to deal with like discourse around, is it safe for her and the baby? Like, how is that going to work? She's not going to be able to put Kyle. She's not going to be able to get activated. Like, and I know because we care about the health of the baby. Like, how do we make this work if she is with child?
Oh my God.
Because we need her. We need her.
And everything she does will be weaponized against her tenfold.
It's going to be a hard season already.
Oh my God. I don't know. I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there.
Finally, the West Sierra of it all. You mentioned it earlier, but yeah. I mean, is it me? But like everybody, like West did not look like he gave a rip. He just looked like it was like a bummer that he was on the hot seat. But like he legit, I don't know what was going on with his face, but it just seemed like he legitimately didn't care. And I saw him texting on a break, and I was like, if I was Andy, I would have come back from that break and been like, hey, Wes, who are you texting on the break? And can we read what you were texting? Because I would have loved to have been like, bro, I got through it. It wasn't too bad. Like he did not seem to truly care. And why would Sierra ever admit to giving him another chance?
There's never been like a switch flipped faster than like not even like I wasn't ever like so attracted to West, but now I think he's like fucking disgusting. Also after reading, there was like a follow-up like New York Times article about West at the reunion and all the backlash, which again, it's like slow news day, slow news week, what's going on? But they were basically just recapping the fact that the audience flipped on West after their glowing profile. And West was like, again, kind of trying to say what he thinks people want to hear.
Yeah.
He was like, I think that I would have been perceived differently had I come out like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's only about how you're perceived. It's not about being honest. It's about how you're perceived. And he mentioned the fact that, I should have just been honest. I thought it would hurt Sierra less if I, gave an excuse about like the fans and the show, but really the relationship had just run its course and like there just weren't I couldn't see a future. So he basically was like implying that like he just didn't like her enough to like continue the relationship, as if that.
But he liked her enough. He liked her enough because he still wanted to have sex with her. Like he still wanted, like I still wanted to have sex with her, but I didn't like her enough to continue past that.
Exactly. As if like that. It's like he almost like wanted to like hurt her more by saying that to the New York Times. Oh, like I just wasn't that into her. Like,
well, it's one of those really interesting things. And I think Paige once again nailed it, like with Wes saying, listen, we happen to be on a reality show that is filmed, but that is not our life. It's like it's like we're not living our lives because we're filming. We're living our lives and it is filmed. Like there's a big difference in that. And you're sitting there texting us going, this is an amazing season, when we're watching two people have the worst summer of their lives. And I think there is something about getting caught up. And I think West is potentially this kind of TikTok New York dude that really likes to see himself on TV and likes to be a part of that. And it probably, you can get really lost in that. I mean, we've seen Kyle get lost in that in the past. We've seen all of these men get lost in that I hope he learns from it, but I don't know. I feel like even the Bravo audience will, has already, for the most part, let him off the hook for this. Don't you?
Yeah, he's gonna be fine. And also the Bravo audience is like so much meaner to Danielle, who I know Danielle isn't perfect, but like for like starting an app. Like,
I don't listen, like, at least you're doing something with your fucking life.
Exactly. Like, it's exactly the fucking men, including Kyle and Carl West, they are always going to be able to get away with shit and will always be kind of like protected in a way. But I think that was also the frustrating thing about this reunion, was that it felt like you are once again protecting these men and throwing women under the bus when the majority of your audience is women. Like, we were all pissed off watching it. Like,
I think there's a real conversation that needs to be had with Kyle Cook in particular.
Yes.
And I do wonder if Andy does, like, after these or after the feedback, if he does sit there, and I don't mean like beat himself up, but if he sits there and actually starts to, like, because I feel like you have to be fluid as a person in pop culture, or like, you can't be so rigid of, this is my one and only opinion that I will like, you have to be able to learn not only from your mistakes, but even from like your victories. Like, you have to learn from these things. Is like, does Andy ever sit there afterwards and really think about his performance and kind of understand of like, yeah, why didn't we really ask way more about Kyle? Like, cause I want to believe that it isn't some big conspiracy of, we stay away from this, that he's just like, oh, we really have more to do with Lindsay over here and Amanda's mental health than Kyle. But I really think it's just sitting there ripe for the picking. And I think it would be a fascinating conversation. As an interviewer, I think Andy would love to tackle that. I just wonder if he realizes that and wants to actually get to the bottom of those things.
And it's also like, is there some sort of like misogyny going on? This was like the
well,
one time
I mean,
well, yes, but like, I always think that it's like such bullshit when people are like, fire Andy after like a poor
come on.
Andy's not going anywhere.
Break.
He's not going anywhere. But
you'd all cry once he was gone anyways. You'd all hate it.
Yeah. This was the first time where I actually was like really pissed off at Andy. And like, I don't usually get pissed off at Andy. I'm usually like, well, like, he's not perfect, but like, Andy is Bravo. I was like, fire Andy after this reunion. Like, I was pissed. I know a lot of people were pissed. I don't actually mean that, but like, I was pissed. I was pissed at Andy.
Well, listen, Andy, to me, and all joking aside, I've said this, he is one of my heroes in all of this, but I do get disappointed in those kind of scenarios, because I'm like, dude, I mean, me and Sophie are here talking about it more in depth than you're able to do at these reunions. I mean, it is so frustrating that you have the keys to the kingdom. You have all of the main players. Let's get into it. They're ready to get into it, and the audience is so sophisticated these days that they want to get into it as well, because we're having insane conversations outside of all of this. So, do us proud on a season that is excellent. Like, and also, Sophie, the Traitors casting, I keep thinking about, because it is interesting, this boys club you speak of. Think about how Kyle Cook was on the first season of the Traitors. He also got Winter House. He's been on every season of that. Just like the Toms, like how Tom Sandoval is on this season of the Traitors, season 3. They also, by the way, Schwartz and Sandoval were supposed to be on last season of Winter House. In fact, they were the ones that were supposed to lead the whole house. It was supposed to be Schwartz and Sandy's Winter House. And then things happened at the last minute with Sandoval, where Tom got asked off it and Schwartz went. But why do we give these men these big opportunities? Is it because they're just bigger idiots and therefore more fun to watch because they always get themselves into the most idiotic, stupid situations? Or is it just misogyny?
Probably a little bit of both. But, and also, you know what? The Bravo audience isn't perfect. I know that, like, we are probably a lot harder on women just because that's how society is.
Oh, Sophie, I will read women's comments against, I mean, like, even the Ariana shit. I would go on Facebook and read comments about Ariana after a Vanderpump Rules episode, and I would get so bummed out because I was like, how am I so far off with what these ladies are thinking? It was like fellow ladies. And then to be like, well, I see why Sandoval did what he did. I was like, how could you possibly see that? How could you possibly see that? Like, and it scares me because I don't have the time or the energy to like get into it with these people. And like, you know, like what kind of conversation are you going to have if that's where you're starting from?
Exactly. And again, going back to someone who as innocuous as like Danielle got so much hate this season just for being like cringe and like starting an app, which by the way, again, like I know I'm bringing it up again. I'm like, Danielle started an app. Like, let's go easy on people that are brave enough to put themselves out there and start a business. I know that she got a lot of flack for her like founder CEO comments, but like she's a woman of color who did found something or co-found something. And that's more than, you know, I think that's more than I can say for myself. Like
it's more than Carl's doing. And by the way, our failures end up leading to our next victory. Like even if she fails in this, it's going to lead her to the next project that's going to succeed. Like that's what it takes. And it takes a lot to put yourself on the line. And I will say, even in those comments of like, you know, that Paige hopped on about like the founder and like as a founder and da. Yes, it is cringy, but also she's so damn proud of it and wants to be special. We all want to be special, folks. We all want to like, so I do have empathy for Daniel in that way. Listen, we talked so much about this. I do want to get to a couple of other stories really quickly, just for your thoughts. Kenya Moore, Real Housewives of Atlanta. We had a big shakeup where she is now suspended indefinitely from Real Housewives of Atlanta because there was an incident during filming with a new cast member where she put kind of like, I guess the new cast member, Brittany Edie, performing oral sex, like images of Brittany Edie performing oral sex at a Real Housewives of Atlanta filming event. And she just like, all of a sudden these images were on a TV screen and potentially on poster boards. And she has now been suspended for this.
Did you see the images though? Like someone in like
I saw one of them.
Yeah, so it looked like it was kind of just a photoshopped, like superimposed
penis
it was just, like,
over a face.
A headshot with a superimposed penis on it. Like it wasn't actual like footage of her performing oral sex. It wasn't like actual revenge porn, but that's kind of
it's a little hazy. Like I didn't know if it was both. I didn't know if it was like Photoshop on top of these other things, but Kenya just on Friday got suspended indefinitely. She went on an Instagram live. She didn't really comment on it because she wanted to get 100,000 people in the live, and that didn't happen. So she was like, twirl you later. But she says, I'll be back. But I will say there's also kind of some speculation and some people I want to make a point is that people are like, well, Tom Sandoval did this with Rachel filming it. Just remember that is horrible as well and fucking awful, but that was not on camera. That was not part of Vanderpump Rules season. That was after filming had wrapped between two individuals, Tom Sandoval and Rachel. So that has nothing to do with actual filming. That was in their real lives. Kenya Moore did this in a filming for a scene, one of her events. So it is different in that way. So Bravo did the right thing, I believe, in suspending her. You have to, if something like that goes. I mean, that's too far for a new cast member, even though there's rumors that this new cast member had threatened Kenya with like a gun or something like that, something crazy before this. But who knows? But yeah, Kenya is suspended. Like, were you shocked at this?
I mean, I wasn't shocked when I originally had heard that it was like legitimate revenge porn. And then, you know, when the images came out where it was just like a photoshopped like thing, like, I don't know the full context. I don't know what exactly is true and what's not. So I was shocked by that. If it really was just like some like stupid photoshopped like joke, like bad sense of humor type of situation. I was surprised at that. But again, it's like, I don't think I have the full story.
Yeah. I mean, here's Kenya's tweet. She says, I would never engage in revenge porn. I have never distributed private images or footage of anyone, nor solicited images owned by others to use to threaten or blackmail. I have always been vindicated. I can't talk about story, even with people planting fake news. So that is Kenya's Twitter statement, but she will be suspended indefinitely until Bravo finishes their investigation, which I want to point out. They have to do these things, and you have to do this in a working environment, and especially also because of things like the reality reckoning. You want to handle this in an appropriate way because it's not only Kenya, it's this new cast member, Brittany Edie, who we have not really even met yet. But it seems like the new season of Atlanta is not going well if this is what's happening.
Not off to a great start.
So we'll keep you posted about that. I also want to get your thoughts on this. The Valley is a couple weeks away from starting their season 2 filming. And I think that's why this week has been a little bit calmer in terms of the leaks and things like that. I do want to say that producer Jeremiah from Vanderpump Rules has been moved over to producer on The Valley. Somebody said he was also a producer on Southern Charm this past season, but got let go. I don't know the validity of that rumor.
Jeremiah.
But okay, well, so like people give Jeremiah a real hard time. I think I want him on season 2 of The Valley. He knows a lot of these key players from the beginning, but a lot of people are saying that he's there to give Jax Taylor a redemption arc, which I just don't know if I believe. What do you think about that narrative?
I mean, I'm not super familiar with what exactly, like, I'm not super familiar with his body of work. I mean, I am.
Well, he's been with Vanderpump Rules since season 1 when he was not a producer.
Yes. I am familiar with his body of work, but I don't know exactly what he's like, what his medium is. What
yeah.
Yeah, his MO, his modus operandi, his like I don't know Jeremiah well enough, but I would not love a Jax Taylor redemption arc. If they're going to try to give him the Sandoval treatment, don't love that.
Well, I do find it interesting. You know, we're having this whole conversation about Men and Kyle and things like that. I mean, at this point, at some point, Bravo has to listen. And why don't we just give it a try where we do have a Down with Jax Taylor season? Like, why can't we just try it on Jax? Like, don't do a redemption season at all and just let the cards fall where they may. Like, don't do it at all, because Jax is already going to try to give himself a redemption season. So why try to back that up? Let's like drive that into the ground. Like, this is how reality TV works. This is the big bad. Let's go for it. You got your person right here. Let's uncover the mystery. And like, I feel like when you hit that Jax Taylor button, it's very pleasurable to watch how many bad things this man does. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Totally. And like you said, it's like, at what point are they just going to be like, okay, like, let's listen to the audience? Because there's nothing the audience would love more than Jax Taylor getting skewered. Remember when Andy was like with Erica Jane at like a Beverly Hills reunion, was like, I'm going to fire up the barbecue and I'm going to put you on a skewer. You know?
Yeah, which by the way, they're filming Beverly Hills at a spa this weekend, and Kyle was spotted crying. She had a very tearful, and they were all in their spa robes, and you could tell Kyle was crying next to Dorit and Erica Jane. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a good season. Okay, really quickly, Kate Middleton made a public appearance, and it was not artificial intelligence. This was actually her. She said, listen, she has good days and bad days. She was happy to be there for this event this weekend. We saw her cute little kids trying not to dance on camera, being very respectful. But here she is in the flesh. Did you have any thoughts about this after all of the speculation, Sophie?
It's not her.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, it was definitely her. And I was like,
that's amazing. I
was shocked.
Me too.
I wasn't sure that she was even still alive.
Oh, Sophie, like, Rebecca was like, oh, sure, she'll be there. Sure, she'll be there. Like, like really shocking to see.
Sure. Yeah, Shelly Miskovich is going to be there too. Am I right? That's like literally what I like. But I guess she's alive. Great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know what's so funny is that she really is probably very ill, and she looks 1,000% better than I do. Like, even that ill, she looks amazing. Like, I was like, good for you. Good for you, as Paige would say.
Good for you.
Good for you. Joe Alwyn, Taylor Swift's ex, made comments this week for the first time about their relationship, folks. He has waited over a year to make these comments, and he finally broke his silence and said, listen, I would hope that anyone and everyone can empathize and understand the difficulties that come with the end of a long, loving, fully committed relationship of over 6.5 years. That is a hard thing to navigate. What is unusual and abnormal in this situation is that 1 week later, it's suddenly in the public domain and the outside world is able to weigh in. So you have something very real suddenly thrown into a very unreal space. Tabloid, social media, press where it is then dissected, speculated on, pulled out of shape beyond recognition. And the truth is, to that last point, there is always going to be a gap between what is known and what is said. I have made my peace with that. Did you have any thoughts about this? By the way, Joe Alwyn for Summer House. I need to get this guy on Summer House. This guy sounds like what we need this guy.
It also reminded me of that. I like the message of what he's saying, but he's like, when you pull it and you remember when Lady Gaga was
poetic. It's poetic.
Lady Gaga was like, spit on it, throw up on it. Never been done before. Like, oh my God, Joe Alwyn.
Yeah, I'm getting a semi, Joe. Wow.
No, good for him. Good for him for finally speaking out. He's gotten a lot of fucking hate from the Swifties.
Oh, I know. Like, he really did get I wonder what that's like to withstand something like that just because of who you dated. And Taylor Swift never fully came out and said why that relationship fully ended. So it is interesting that we are so pro Taylor that we're like, death to Joe, death to Joe.
Also, Taylor will also never tell her fans to like simmer down if they think that like, we're really going after someone. Like, she'll just be like, okay, yeah. Like, no matter like, what happened, like the fans obviously fucking like eviscerated him, and Taylor just like sits back.
Oh, did you see
I don't know.
that?
I am like,
don't, Sophie, don't do it. Don't say it.
I know. I'm sorry. Swifties, never mind. Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything.
I know we all know what you're about to say, and I just feel like you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Let's just say if they make it look like I harmed myself, I didn't.
By the way, on the June 15th, So Bad It's Good, Sophie Ross said she felt ill. You did say you felt ill. You said I woke up from a 5-hour nap. Who does that? So potentially whatever's happening is already happening. By the way, did you see that video of Taylor Swift performing? And like stars, they're just like us or me this week. She had like a big snot loogie and she put and threw it down. I was like, that was me all week.
Where was she performing? Because everyone said it was really
I think Edinburgh.
That also like that. And there was also like another video of her where she's like playing piano and the snot is coming down and she like licks it. She like laps it up. You know what I mean? Like when it's really cold and it's just like you don't have a tissue and you just you're like, it's kind of salty.
Yeah.
Stars, they're just like us.
I don't know where I said this, but I was like, I bet she is such a business mind. I bet she'll start selling like Taylor Swift hankies, like snot, just like me. Like I would buy a Taylor Swift hanky. Okay. So we did the Valley, Summer House, Teen Mom. I don't know if you follow at all, but Amber Portwood, who used to be on Teen Mom, her new boyfriend, Gary 2.0, went missing. And he has now been found. I was talking to Tracy Morrissey about this earlier this week. He has been found. But what's so funny about this story to me is that she immediately went on Instagram Live and said, I did not kill him. Like, how sad is it that you are a type of person that you immediately have to defend yourself because everybody thought she killed him? Like, everybody thought nobody was even questioning. People were like, oh, yeah, she killed him. She, lost it and killed him. Like, wouldn't that be sad if that's how you were viewed in life? Of, if somebody goes missing that's close to you, you're like, Sophie killed him. Sophie totally killed him.
And I admittedly, don't follow Teen Mom, really, but Amber was, the insane one, and Gary ended up coming. Gary
took care of their daughter. And,
Yeah.
Wild.
Oh, my God.
Okay, you have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can I this is not really a story, Sophie. I just want to get your thoughts because Sabrina Carpenter and her boyfriend, Barry Keoghan, the actor from Saltburn, I have Sabrina, Espresso, fun song, the new song, fun song. I just want to say, they are the most extreme looking couple I've ever seen in my life. It's if high definition was even more defined, all the Barry's face always looks like all the hard angles on his face, and then Sabrina's makeup. Yeah. It just seems like the most this isn't Rick because they're both beautiful in a way, but it just looks like the biggest what it takes to even get them ready to go out because I don't even know. It seems like I'm looking at AI every time I'm looking at them as a couple.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
That's actually such a good observation. They also both are spray tanned
yes
to the gods. And also Barry, like he has, you know, his, I don't know how often that injector is making house calls, but like he looks great. But yeah, there's a lot like happening facially. Sabrina, stunning, talented, so cute and compact. I just want to
like she has no neck, like a lot of like she's like
so
just
like
always
compact.
yeah.
But yeah, she always has, you know, the blush and again the spray tan, and I'm into it. I'm into it though.
No, like, there's nothing I'm not into. It's just I just was like every time I look at them, I feel like I'm being blinded. Like I'm like looking at so many different things at once.
They are very high def.
Yeah, very high def. And it's interesting if you think about Sabrina Carpenter's music because she's been around for a while now. She's been around for years upon years. So it's interesting that finally she has worked hard enough and found the right formula and the right team to make it pop all of a sudden. Like it is really interesting because if you think about her and Chappell Roan and all of these, like, you know, Olivia Rodrigo, all of the, like, how much goes into this?
The fuck a Chappell Roan is. Like I know you.
Oh, you gotta listen to the album. It's so good.
Okay.
Diary of a Midwest Princess, I think it's called. It just hit the top 10 for the first time this week because her crowd at Governor's Ball in New York, your city, went crazy. Like she all of a sudden just exploded because everybody kind of has discovered her at the same time. But even this week, she was performing a set somewhere, I think somewhere in Middle America, and she literally started crying and saying, "Listen, this has been a rough week. My career is happening way too fast. I love it so much." But like, I just think about all of a sudden, if this dream that you've had for years and years of your life suddenly starts like coming true all within the span of a month, like that's got to be insane to go from nobody giving a shit to everybody giving a shit. Like that's got to rock your world. And we're not used to pop stars really crying on stage. A lot of people are giving her a hard time about this. Like Lady Gaga would never do this, but I'm like, let people be who they want to be. Yeah, like she can cry if she wants to.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like West, you know?
Yeah, like, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
You shoot to stardom. You had this dream of being like this famous Playboy reality star, and then it happens.
Here it is.
You don't know how to handle it sometimes. So yeah, let's give Wes some grace. You know,
Wes some grace. Let's give Chappell Roan some grace. What has there ever been any part of your life, Sophie, where you get to it and it just wasn't what you thought it was going to be? Like, you know, like where you're like, I dreamed about this, and you've had a lot of career things that have gone great for you. You've had obviously, you know, like all, you know, even like when your tweets blow up, like, you know, it always, there's a hollowness and an emptiness every time I think something's going to make me happy and it doesn't. Do you have those for yourself ever?
Totally. Well, I definitely don't feel like I've even come close to achieving my biggest goals in life. So I don't know what that feels like. I would hope that I could find out what that feels like, but there definitely are moments when you feel kind of like unprepared for the amount of what's the word opinions, attention. None of these are the words that I'm thinking of, but scrutiny. Even for example, a tweet about Summer House, like just this is the first example that comes to mind where I had tweeted about the fact that I don't think that Carl fits the definition of sober. And then the amount of people saying this is irresponsible, you have a big platform. And I was like, I didn't realize that was controversial. I'm sorry. I want to not abuse my platform. I don't know. I didn't realize that was a controversial thing to say, but it's like stuff like that where it's just like, whoa, not prepared for the amount. And you know what it's like to like see your name in like Reddit and see like a Reddit thread or whatever it is. It's like, I have been there, and that's like a fucking horrible feeling.
Yeah.
And
100%.
We don't even have, you know, a fraction of the platform.
I know. Like those, I mean, it really does. You have to take, but that leads into what I wanted to finally just mention to you because I had tweeted about it today, was that the Kardashians, and this isn't a talk about the show because I watch the show and it is so boring and so bland. And there are little moments that I could make fun of, but it's not even really worth it. And I really got this feeling in 2024, this is the first time, we've always speculated about this, but it's the first time where I'm like, have we finally gotten to this point where they are not everything. They are not like the steel. What did I write exactly? I put, this is the first year that I feel the Kardashians are losing their iron steel grip on the pop culture attention economy.
Yes.
Do we care less about them more than ever before? Or are they purposely laying low and planning a new form of dominating? Or has the nature of celebrity changed? And I keep thinking about this because even if I talk about North, I just don't even really have it in me. I don't like, is it just, have we gone to the end of the road? And by the way, this is not a boohoo for them because a lot of them are billionaires, but like, what is it? Why, like, do you feel it too? I feel like pop culture has moved on from them.
I feel like we say this a lot. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like finally happening or.
Well, it's like, never, I mean, by the way, they'll come back, I'm sure.
But I saw your tweet and there was a reply to your tweet that I thought was really interesting. It said their original fans are older moms now and don't care about them anymore. Gen Z doesn't like them, so they're irrelevant because they couldn't keep up with the youth. Also, narcissism is more known, and Gen Z doesn't like narcissists.
Yes.
Kim's whole deal. And I thought that was really interesting that, like, yeah, like the people that grew up with them, like Kardashians debuted, the original Keeping Up with the Kardashians show debuted my freshman year of high school when I was either in 8th or 9th grade. So like I am the generation that kind of like grew up watching because it was 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was either in middle school or like had just started high school. And I remember being so obsessed. Like I went to Miami for spring break and I went to the Dash store. I was obsessed. And it's like, well, what am I gonna what do I care? No, I like literally don't care. And I was like the original audience that was obsessed with them, but they, we're all, and I'm not like some old mom, but like I'm definitely not young enough to like, I don't know, concern myself with Kylie Jenner's,
Yeah, I love her.
I'm like, I can't be Dame to care about the Kardashians. No, but it's like what they're doing. But it's like I'm literally on a podcast talking about them. Like, yeah, but no,
we've given them so much attention and so much focus over the years. But you're right. That one comment from all that Baz. I love this. Also, narcissism is more known, and Gen Z doesn't like narcissists. I like that concept of kids these days being more aware of mental health and those kind of peccadillos of a psychology of, this is just completely narcissistic. I think that was such an interesting thing to think about. In this TikTok generation, are we more, as a younger generation going like, that's just a narcissist. Why would I want to watch just a bunch of narcissists every week? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, also like it goes without saying that like our socio-economic political climate is not, we're not like loving billionaires at the moment. So
yeah,
it's like not the best time to be like a very publicly obnoxious consumer
personal wish fulfillments,
private jet, pollution. It's just like not a great time for that. So
yeah. I thought it was interesting because I watched the show and I literally just felt nothing watching it for 45 minutes. And usually I feel something. So I thought that was interesting and I was really trying to think about it. Sophie, what else have you watched this week? Anything that you're looking forward to watching or anything you'd like to recommend?
The Top Chef finale is coming up. And
that's on Wednesday, right?
Yeah. It's been Top Chef Wisconsin, which by the way, one of my coworkers, we were like she watches it also, and she is from France originally.
Oui.
And she was like, we were talking about it in front of our other coworker who doesn't watch, and she was just like, and she doesn't have a French accent, by the way, she's like half. She's just like, otherwise I would like give her the French accent, but she was like, I love the region. And my coworker was like, oh, like, is it like Sonoma, Bordeaux? It's Wisconsin. She loves the region of Wisconsin.
Of course.
But anyway, it's been very different with Kristen replacing Padma. There have been a lot of like mixed.
You mentioned this before. What do you mean by that? Because at first you said she was great.
No, I think she's great. A lot of people have complained about this chef testant class, that it's maybe not as talented as chef testants of the past. And that it's kind of like a different feel. They're throwing in different twists. I think they're trying to like change the show so it feels different other than just the host. Like they're trying to like kind of just like reinvent it with Kristen to make it into like Kristen's thing and not just like, you know what I mean?
I think it's also really hard, but I mean, think about it, because you have this show on Bravo, on this show built around reality TV, and then you have this like reality show, like game, like, you know, a game-based show with real talented people with like actual cooking. And I think sometimes it's hard to like merge that in with what like is Bravo's bread and butter right now. Like it's hard to get people excited then about gameplay. And I almost like, should Top Chef move to a network like CBS? Should there be like a 2-hour block with Survivor? Should there I mean, like,
I also don't think that Bravo like has any interest in offloading Top Chef.
No.
Emmys.
It's a crown jewel.
Emmys every year. Like Top Chef is incredible. I am obsessed with Top Chef. I always will be. I say give this season a shot. If you haven't watched it yet, I'm excited for the finale. I think that the 3 finalists are all very talented. And yeah, like what else have I watched besides Survivor?
By the way, I had Brian Moylan on Thursday or Friday, and he wrote an article for Vulture saying fire Jeff Probst. He thinks they need to let go of Jeff. And by the way, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek article, but he, you know, Jeff is the showrunner, the producer, all of these things now, and thinks he is too firmly entrenched in Survivor, and that's why these past couple of seasons haven't been.
I read that article. I need to like watch the new era Survivor seasons to be able to like have an opinion.
Yeah.
But I'll get there eventually. I was actually thinking I'm almost done with season 5 Thailand. And then once I watch season 8, I will have completed the first 16 seasons, and then I can go in order. I think I'm just going to go in order 17, 18, 19, 20 until I'm up to whatever it is, season 50. And I'm wondering if I am going to get through all of it before my wedding. I'm like, what if that's like, maybe I should set a goal for myself.
Well, but yeah, you got to finish, because if not, will you postpone the wedding?
Or it's like, am I going to be able to enjoy my honeymoon if I still
when you're thinking about what's going to happen to the fire making challenge up there during your vows, or however that works, you know?
Right.
Damn.
Previously on Survivor. Stay tuned for scenes from our next episode.
Oh, we got really into Love Island this week in the UK, and we started the USA. But it is such a time commitment. But the UK, we are like already loving 5 episodes in. We just started USA with Ariana. So it's interesting, and I hope it succeeds, but it's such a hard sell for American audiences to say you have to watch this every day. And it's like you're investing in these characters because eventually shit's going to pop off. And sometimes our attention spans aren't like that. But there's already some pretty good stuff that I saw in the first couple of episodes of USA Love Island. So I hope it does good. But you don't mess around with that at all.
No.
I mean, I think you would like the UK first. I think you would crack up at the UK.
I probably would, yeah.
It's on Hulu if you care to watch that at all. And that's oh, by the way, I was just thinking at your wedding, what if I make it my goal to get kicked out like Craig Conover? Like and then I want Dumois, then I want somebody to send Dumois like a blind.
Get in a fight with Amanda.
Is Amanda going to come to your wedding?
No, Amanda Batula. No, I meant Amanda, my sister. Because Craig fought Amanda's brother. So, like my sibling. Like you have to fight my sibling at my wedding.
Do you imagine how drunk you got to be to like fight a sibling of like Amanda's
of the
brother?
bride?
Think about that. I mean, it's like that shit we always talk about, like what happened in that private jet with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and the kids. Now I'm going to wonder, like, what happened? Like, what was the conversation with Craig and the brother? Like, what was like, was Craig like mouthing off?
You're always like, what happened in Chloe and Lamar's house when Rob Kardashian lived there? Like, that's
but like Craig must have been mouthing off, like, you don't fucking know how to sew pillows. I only know how to sew pillows. Like,
I mean, we saw him in Winter House, by the way, and I know, again, I am like all full of the hot controversial takes. I have never bought into the fact that Craig is like some like really new and improved, like he's so great now. He's really like changed and gone full circle. No, we saw him in Winter House. Do you guys have short memories? How short are your attention spans that you forgot literally less than 2 years ago?
But I think
he paid people to clean up. He doesn't clean up. He pays people. He called himself first generation wealth.
But I think that's why we celebrate these men, because they say the most idiotic things on national television. But I also want to say, like, I'm such an apologist now for Craig Conover, is that I feel like he said now he only drinks like beer, right? Like he doesn't drink the hard stuff.
I think that he knows how to curate himself just like Paige does.
Oh, shit.
Cameras.
Fighting
and I
words.
think that Winter House was his first foray into being filmed constantly all the time. And he wasn't used to that, but now he knows what the deal is there and he knows how to present himself.
Well, I got to, when I saw them in person this past December at that variety event, they look like old money. Like this is a very attractive couple. I was like, whoa, I was kind of blown away by how stunning they are in person.
Oh, damn. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I don't know what anyway, that's neither here nor there. Sophie Ross, if you, I hope your health gets better. I hope you don't
Thank you.
Get assassinated in any way.
You.
Yeah, this has been a week. I got to get to this ENT. I've had clogged ears and cough all week.
And also, by the way, guys, did not take any edibles this time. I'm sorry again for becoming semi-incoherent. Last week when I took an edible, I only take edibles when I think it'll make me funnier.
Guys,
I do it for you? By
wait, guys, can I tell you? Well, the reason this is funny, and she kind of like hinted at this last week, but I want to tell you what she meant really quickly. Was first off, I'm shocked that edible supposedly hit you that quickly. Like you were like all of a sudden you were like, I can't.
I mean, I thought I was like fine for the most.
Yeah, part. I thought you were too. So all of a sudden you started saying like, oh, maybe this is the edible. The reason she says this is that like 3 or 4 weeks ago we did an episode, and there's a sponsor from Betches that like does like CBD, like sleep aids, like all of this stuff, and it really worked. So I had done the sleep aid one and it like worked amazing, but they sent me this other one where it was kind of like a little bit of THC and stuff. And, I don't do a lot of that stuff. So I took one thinking like, let's try this out. And by the time I got on with Sophie, I was like, oh shit, like I am buzzing. And I thought, I was like, there's no way I'm making sense. So I had to warn Sophie about it. And luckily we got through it, but that's just not my style at all. Like I don't like losing control like that. So that was really scary. So that's why she might've mentioned that last week, because I did that accidentally, but I made it through.
I do occasionally, if it's an edible or like in the past, I've definitely like hit the weed pen before recording.
I
do it thinking that I'm funnier sometimes, but the edible last week, I guess it wasn't enhancing the experience for the listeners.
Yeah. So not cocaine Carl's Stone Sophie. That's it. Like I'm busting you out right there. Sophie, thank you so much. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. And I hope you guys have the best week ever. I know you guys really love these episodes, so I hope you loved this one as much as the others. And tune in all week. We got great guests, and have a great week, you guys. Bye. Mwah.